Why does it happen? What happens when you get stuck in this loop or this pattern of overthinking? And why I believe that it is the complete opposite of freedom. If you're brand new to me, my name is Susan McVeigh. I'm a married mama of two and a business wealth and sales strategist. And here on this channel, we talk about all things business and entrepreneurship, which includes sales and money with some faith and family thrown in the mix because hashtag real life. I'm an actual real person. And so my life often influences what I do and what I talk about and vice versa. So today's topic was inspired by Jacob. So Jacob, I'm giving you a shout out. I did watch your video and it gave me a little bit of pause because I think we can all, maybe we can't all. So let me just be very clear right now. This video is for you if you are an overthinker or you are somebody who is driven, committed, and ambitious, but maybe sometimes you have gotten stuck, right? Because you want something and it feels like it's so far off into the distant future that it can almost feel like it's never going to happen, or it is so big, like the goals, the dreams, the desires, the next level of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, or the path that you're trying to take is completely different or such a stark contrast from where you are right now that it is not achievable in one fell swoop. Okay. So if that's you and you happen to be a high achiever, and then you add a little more complexity into the mix, then this video is, I'm hopeful, is going to help you to unpack some of this, see a different perspective, and be able to understand and identify maybe some tools, some resources, some strategies that will help you to move through it, or at least be able to identify when it's happening, why it's happening, and more importantly, what you can choose to do instead. Because every decision that you make, even not making a decision, is a choice. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you have a choice, but it is a choice. So let's create some awareness and let's have an understanding around the things that you're overthinking about. So, number one, if you're live or on the replay, please feel free to say hello, where you're watching from, and let me know if you are an overthinker. And I hate putting labels on it because I think it's very important how we identify. Have you ever gotten stuck in a pattern of overthinking? And if that's you, put a 1 in the comments because I want to make sure that you have come up across the right video for you. And if not, I encourage you to pause and go find a different video that might be better suited to you. Okay? Idiom, I'm happy for you. You can choose whatever you want to choose. So, if you have ever gotten stuck in overthinking, put a 1 in the comments. Now, let me just think. How am I going to explain this? When you are a high fact finder, so if you have ever done some of these personality tests, they are great, but sometimes I think that we automatically pigeonhole ourselves and start putting ourselves into a box and limiting what we can and cannot do. So I always say use them with a bit of a grain of salt. And I always say that it's a little bit of a caveat because I think sometimes, know thyself is important and it is a great way and a great starting point, but it shouldn't be all of who you are, right? You are not a Myers-Briggs test. You are not a Clifton Strengths Finder. You are not any of those things. Hello, Peter. Thank you for your kind words. I'm sure my husband would agree. But it gives us a starting point because what it will allow you to do is have an awareness of where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, where do you get stuck, and if you get stuck in a pattern of overthinking because you are a fact finder, that is an area where you just want to think that your greatest strength is often also your Achilles heel or your greatest weakness. And that's not a bad thing. It's just something to bring awareness to. And so chances are high that if you are somebody that likes to be thoughtful, that likes to think through things, you may also have a high attention to detail. Now, not always, but I find that oftentimes these two can go hand in hand, right? So If that's the case, then these are strengths that you want to be aware of. But it also means that when you come into situations where you feel like your back is against the wall and you have a little bit more fear or uncertainty, you are going to get tripped up into doing the things that you are naturally gifted at, even if it does not require it. So, what does this look like in real life? It means that when you are trying to make decisions, you're going to hem and haw and try to gather as much information as possible, almost as a way to distract or take away from the fact that you need to make a decision. When really and truly, and because I've labeled this, overthinking is kind of the opposite of freedom, because what it does is it chains you to finding more and more information when information isn't always the thing that you actually are desiring. It's actually not the answer that you're looking for. It is the outcome of said information that you actually are wanting. And while it can help you move forward, and a lot of times it can make you feel like I am moving forward, the reality is it sometimes lands in the box of productive procrastination. And I actually like to call it unproductive procrastination, because sometimes you're procrastinating and you're not getting a lot done other than thinking about the thing that you need to solve. Where if you were to just take one step, one tiny little baby step, and to make a decision, to make a choice, and to take an action, that you would probably learn far more about yourself, about the situation, and about what it is that you're trying to decide upon and get a result with, rather than dissecting even more information and thinking about it without actually taking any action. In the Bible, it says that faith without works is dead. And what that means in relation to this topic is that you can believe all you want. You can plan and prepare all you want. You can think all you want. But at some point, that has to be implemented into the steps that you are taking, the works, so to speak, where you are now taking all of that planning, preparation, and thinking, and now you're going to do something about it. And regardless of whether or not it gets you the exact outcome that you desire, you're going to get a decision either way. Like, you're going to see a result from that decision that you've made. Does that make sense? And sometimes we are so attached to the outcome, or we're so nervous or fearful or afraid or worried, and we have concern around it. And if that speaks to you, I want you to go and watch yesterday's video, which is all about how do you maintain faith in the face of uncertainty, right? Because I think most of life, we don't have a crystal ball, and we don't have a, this is what I know for sure is going to happen, because usually our decisions are being made in conjunction with other people. And if that's the case, other people are unpredictable, right? So because of that, you can control what you do and what you decide and the actions that you're taking, but there's going to be a ripple effect, because it's going to impact other people, and those people you don't control. Those people you don't get to say, I want you to behave this way. I want you to react this way. I want you to emote this way. I want you to say this thing. Most of us don't go through life, even if we have smaller people that we would like to control in that way. They're going to be themselves, and they're going to revolt and do what it is that they want to do, as long as it's safe to do so. Make sense? Stephen, if it's normal for you, it's normal. I banish you. I bless and release you, actually, because God will take care of you. So when you are overthinking, right? When you are overthinking, the thing that I want you to understand is that overthinking feels productive in the moment. Overthinking can sometimes make you feel like you are in control. Overthinking can make you feel like you're making progress. But if you are still in the same place, because you could be going, 1,000 miles a minute, but if you don't have any direction, then you could be spinning around in circles, right? So speed is not the thing that we're trying to do as a result of you thinking. And I think sometimes that when we are high achievers and when we are really ambitious and motivated and driven, that we are wanting to go a million miles because of all the work that we've already done in our minds, right? I was talking to a client This was a while back, but she had her son who was, little, and he was sitting on the sidelines, like standing watching his soccer team playing a game. And he didn't play that game. Now, there were a number of reasons why, but he watched them do the whole thing, right? He watched them play. And at the end, there was a prize. And he wanted to get the prize. And his mom said, "No, honey, you don't get to participate in that because you didn't play today." And he was heartbroken. Now, because he had watched them and he was thinking about this game, like he watched the entire thing, that his brain thought that he had actually done the work, right? Like he did not really understand. And even though as adults, we get that he was not participating in that game, our brains operate the same way. And that's why a lot of times, by the time we actually get to do the thing, if you've been spending so much time just thinking and thinking and ruminating over and over and over and over again, chances are very high that by the time you actually go to do something, you might be exhausted and you might wonder why. Like, why don't I have the motivation? Why am I so tired? Why don't I just go and do it? Because all of that energy that you could have directed into actually just taking the actions and moving forward have been put in your own inner thoughts, mapping it out. Now, I'm not saying don't prepare. I'm not saying don't think. I'm saying there comes a point where you hit kind of the point of no return, like what's that phrase that I'm looking for? It is where, oh, it's going to come to me afterwards. You've done as much as you need to do in order to get the outcome and the result. And then everything else is really not going to add that much more to the end outcome. We all hit a point where you've done what's required, right? And for some of you, so for some of us, that is the minimum. Now, here's what I want you to know. If you are a person of excellence, hello, Jacob, welcome. You inspired me. I watched your video. Good job, right? Because when you are a person of excellence, your level of standard is already very high. So when you're trying to keep excelling, and I'm not saying just don't do your best. That's why operate with a spirit of excellence. But I'm letting you know that there's a point where the extra that you do, nobody's going to notice. And it's going to expend so much more of your energy that by the time you actually have to take the first step, you're not going to be able to do it because you're not going to have the resources left because you've spent so much time overthinking beyond what is needed. Now, what is the minimum? It depends. I actually prefer doing the MVP, which is the minimum viable product. And this is a strategy for us for today's conversation. And if you have questions, add them in the comments and I will make sure that I answer if they're appropriate. And if I can, add some value and help you at the end of this. We're just about getting there. So the MVP. Now, this is not a new concept. This is a concept that is extensively used in a lot of startups, especially in the tech space. So if you come from that space, you probably know more than me. So I'm going to do quick Coles notes, Sparks notes, like the easy version. You do the minimum to get it out the door because until you actually put it out in the real world, into the wild, so to speak, you won't know because we don't operate in a silo, right? You can build something, but until the real life humans that you are creating that thing for, and this could go for a product or a service, it is something tangible or intangible. It is the same because chances are you're creating that for somebody else. Now, if you created it for yourself, I'm going to guess that you have already done this. And because you may have been iterating as you go along, because you solve a bit of your problem, and then you go, wait, I can improve this. That's a process improvement, right? And as you keep improving and iterating, if you're doing it with you as the test subject, then you might not even realize that this is happening. But when you're creating something, a prototype as an example, to put out in the real world, hello. I don't know what your name is, and so I can't say hello, then in order for you to put that service, to put that product out, you need to have something that is workable, right? So, what is the minimum? It's going to depend on what is the problem and what is the promise. And if you can clearly identify that, then you don't need to keep thinking about it over and over and over again, right? So let's use an example that hopefully we can all relate to, because I'm hoping that we all eat food every day. If you had to create your minimum viable product for a meal that you needed to eat, you have here's a good start for a meal. Here's better if I have more time, more resources, more skills. And here's the best, right? Like whatever is gourmet level for you. If you are having a really hard day, chances are you're not going to do the gourmet, but maybe you will because that gives you joy. But most of us are going to say, you know what? I am going to do the minimum because that's all I can do. And that's okay because it still does the job, right? My name is on my channel. So let's be resourceful because I'm not going to waste time talking about stuff that we've already covered. Thanks. So the minimum is going to be something that allows you to move forward, right? And so when you get stuck in perfectionism, which is beyond a spirit of excellence, and when you get stuck in trying to overthink because you're not sure if it's going to be good enough, here's the reality. Most of the things that we want to do in life are going to be improved upon, but we can't improve upon something if we never put anything out. And so if you give yourself permission that instead of spending that extra 1 hour, 10 hours, 100 hours, trying to improve on something that may or may not make a difference to the end user, which is either you, but chances are it's the person that you're here to serve, that you want to help with the thing that you're providing them with, then the most impactful thing that you can do is to give them the ability to use it. And instead of you being tethered to your own thoughts, which can become a jail of your own making, which is why I titled this Overthinking, the Opposite of Freedom. Because we might think that we have complete freedom to be able to do and be and say and have whatever we want, and we do. The reality is that most people, given that opportunity, will still create a jail of their own making simply because they trap themselves in places that they don't need to be in. Does that make sense? You guys are funny. I bless you and I release you. Hello, Jacob. Okay, let me just see what Jacob's written here. Overthinking is a silent killer of progress. Absolutely. Right? People become paralyzed and end up doing nothing. Exactly. Shimson. Sounds like a Ponzi. Not by definition, but you do you. Okay? Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments below. And I am going to remove some of you, which I normally don't do, but it's distracting me. And so I cannot stay focused. Okay. And if you can hear the dogs in the background, it's because my parents just came home. So here's what I want us to do as a result of what you've learned today, because overthinking is very painful. And overthinking, as Jacob has also shared, it is the silent killer of progress. And ultimately, if you want freedom, if you want time freedom, if you want location freedom, if you want financial freedom, which I define freedom as the ability to do whatever you want with whomever you want, whenever you want. Now, I'm going to put some caveats around that, right? Because where I am in the world, I only deal with kind-hearted, good humans. A lot of y'all maybe are trying your best, right? And so I give you the benefit of the doubt that you are doing whatever you need to do in order to live your life. I believe that our lives are here so that you can live on purpose for a purpose, and that by you being in the world, that somebody's life is better as a result of you being in it, that you are a blessing to somebody else, however that needs to look. Now, sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we get stuck in thoughts that are not conducive to how we want to operate. And if that's you right now, I want you to know that you have full control and power to change that. That's up to you, right? Nobody else can do that for you. But if you've stumbled across this video and if you decide to get value out of it, because I can't do that for you, you have to be able to pull out the value, the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, and you have to do the work in order to apply it to your own life. My goal is always to give you some tools, some strategies, some actual things that you can put into practice if you so choose, right? This is where your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to apply this and to now be able to say, as a result of something that I learned here on this video, I am going to choose to do life differently. And it may not happen right away, and that's okay. I want you to give yourself permission that you can make changes little by little. Tomorrow we might talk about a little bit more of that in more detail. But if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions that are helpful, because as I always tell my kids, is that helpful or hurtful? Because I'm going to tell you, if you are the one that is making other people's lives more miserable, and then you go and you're overthinking um, because you are doing things be- almost like uncontrollably, I want you to know that somebody out there still wants the best for you. I don't know who needed to hear this because this was not the point of the message, but there has been so much weirdness just on this video. And normally on these videos, I've been very blessed that most of the people that are coming on here are very helpful. They are very positive, and they are exactly the people that I want to help and serve, even if they're being a little bit silly, because life is silly sometimes, right? And what I know is that we're passing through a very strange time of the year, right? Christmas has just passed. We're in the middle of Hanukkah. If you happen to celebrate, happy Hanukkah. We're coming up on the end of the year, and people are either planning for next year and excited and looking forward to that, or they're looking back on 2024, because at the time of this live recording it is December 26th of 2024. And so regardless of where you are in that process and in that journey, you might be thinking about things and maybe also spinning into overthinking, and it's making you feel a certain way. And I want to just be a voice of reason, if I can, for just a moment, to be able to step into your world today and to share with you that no matter what you have or haven't done, no matter what you do or don't do, that you are still someone who is worthy to be here on the earth, and that there is something that you have that is of value to someone else. What is that? I don't know. That is the work that you need to do, my friend, in order to figure that out. And if right now you are overthinking because there are things that you want to do, but you just are not giving yourself permission to take the action to move that forward, then let me be a beacon. Let me be your sign that I want you to stop thinking about it and start doing something about it. And if right now you are doing something, just like a lot of people have been on here doing something with their busy little fingers that match the chaos that's in their mind and in their hearts, I want you to just think for yourself, is this helpful or is this hurtful? Because there are so many things going on in this world where more of the right types of actions and more of the right types of people who want to do good in the world, if we could just harness that energy and that intention and that hope and that faith and that love, ultimately, that drives a force for good and for change. And before we put something out in the world, if we think thoughtfully about it, right, and that we allow that intention to come through, that is what changes lives. And if right now you are in a place of pain or suffering, I'm sorry. right? I am praying for you. I'm wishing the best for you. And if I can just give you a moment of clarity because you've stumbled upon this video, whether it's live or on the replay, in being able to say, whatever thoughts that you're thinking, if they are hurtful, they're not your thoughts. They're not the thoughts that you are meant to be thinking. And I break that now in the name of Jesus. And if you have thoughts right now and they are spinning you out of control because you are not sure what path you're supposed to be on, I want to encourage you that if you just took a step in the direction of the dreams that you have and go forth boldly with courage, with compassion and kindness for yourself and for others, then perhaps you might see different outcomes as a result of the steps that you're taking, no matter how small they are. And if right now you are overthinking because your heart is in the right place, because the thing that you want to do feels so big, it feels like it is something that would change the trajectory of your life, your family, and your entire like being. And it seems so overwhelming for you to be able to even just know what direction to go in. Again, I want you to break it down. And I've done a video on this. If you need that one, oh, I can't even remember which one it is. Go back and look for it. And if you need help finding it, then just comment mountain in the comments and I will try to find that video for you. Okay. Because it's how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Don't make it so big and start thinking about all 100 or all 1,000 steps. Only allow yourself to think through what's the next step? What's the next right step? What is the next thing that I need to focus on? And that is all you need to do, right? So there's 2 action steps from this video, depending on where you are in this process of overthinking. And especially if you are aiming for freedom, right? Which I think describes a lot of us. So number 1, I want you to think, what is the minimum viable product? Like what is the minimum that's required in order for this to actually be able to help somebody else? And it's okay if you don't know what that is. I'm going to guarantee that if you're stuck in overthinking, that you're probably beyond that point by the amount of thinking that you're doing. And you would be better served simply by putting something out, even if it feels like it's not done yet, and getting some real life feedback, getting somebody to actually do it with you, help you through it, see what the result is, get some live feedback on your prototype, on your product, on your service, on the gift that you have that you want to share with the world. And then the second piece then becomes, can you just take one small step? The smallest step that you can possibly imagine. And you might feel like that's not big enough, especially when you've been thinking through all the different steps. And it feels like because you've spent so much time thinking that you're already done. And yet you don't have any energy or any resources left to take the steps forward. I don't want you to keep doing that because you're going to spend way too much time thinking and not enough time doing. And it's in the doing, it's in the implementing, it's in the execution that we actually receive the results and get the feedback. And that's where we get to impact other people and change their lives, hopefully for the better. Does that make sense? Okay? So, with that, I don't see any questions that I can answer thoughtfully. Because some of these are just really odd. So, if you are brand new to me, again, you're on this channel. My name is Susan McVeigh. I'm a business sales and wealth strategist. And if you want to follow, like, subscribe, do all the things, please feel free to do so. If this content speaks to you, if it doesn't, life is too short. Go and find somebody else. This is part of a challenge that I've made for myself to come on live every single day for 30 days. And we are in a new location today because it is the holidays. And I'm visiting family. So if you happen to catch the tail end of this, I want you to go and watch the whole thing and watch this if this topic speaks to you. And if it doesn't, I bless and release you because you should be finding content that actually speaks to who you are and how you want to operate and gives you more joy and life. So, with that, we will see you again tomorrow. Bye bye.